Hey Ringside crew, welcome to the internationally known Dudes at Ringside podcast. And now here's your host, Joe, Panther the Third.
Hello there, wrestling fans, and welcome to another episode of the internationally known Dudes at Ringside podcast. Today, it's the week before my birthday, and all in the house, not a creature stirring. That's Christmas. But yeah, in the Panther house, we're having fun always. So today I have a gentleman from the UK that is doing big things. He was supposed to come out a while back, but things happen, and he's here with me now. Let's give a warm Dudes at Ringside welcome to Eddie Jade. Welcome, Eddie.
Thank you. Hello.
Yes. So what made you get into the wrestling business, Eddie?
So like a lot of professional wrestlers, as a child, wrestling just connected with me. I was such a big fan, and throughout life, it sort of stayed with me. It wasn't a lot of people sort of grow out of it. I never really did. It was always a comfort for me to go home and watch wrestling. Like if I'd had a bad day at school as a child, go home and watch wrestling. Something was going on in life, I'd switch on. I'd watch wrestling, and I would just zone out, and just it would really be like my comfort blanket. So, and as I got older, started being a gay man, I didn't really think it was something that I could do. So I started focusing on like, like another career, went down that path, and then I got to like my mid to late 20s, which I'm in now, nearly 30. And I just thought, you know what? I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to go do one day of training, and then if I like it, I like it. I'll stick to it. If not, then being a wrestler's not for me, but being a wrestling fan is. So I went to an open day with PCW Academy. It was a free day, 2 hours training. You sort of do the basics, the rolls, do a couple of strikes, body slam, suplex, all the sort of beginners things. Sort of went along to that, not really thinking that, without really a plan, to be honest. And then when I was doing it, I was doing all the rolls and stuff. I was doing a lot better than I thought I would. And then I thought, you know what? I can do this. This is where I want to be. So yeah, I've just sort of continued it from there, really.
Awesome. So the first time you walked in your training facility, what were what were you thinking? What were your like thought process as you're walking in and you're sitting down in this big building full with a ring and these people you never seen, and the person that's in the ring probably talking, and you're like, I'm doing this right now. Like, what were you thinking when the first time you walked in your training facility?
I was extremely nervous. The first couple of minutes, I was so nervous. I didn't really know what to expect. I didn't really know what to anticipate. So we were talking, like the guys that were training us for that day. They were talking about what they were going to do. They were just doing like a run through of what we were going to do that day. So I was sort of listening in, and I was sort of like, sort of picking out things that, I might be all right with that, but I might struggle with that. But then I sort of, after a few minutes, I was like, right, put all that out of your head and just do what they're asking you to do and give it a go.
Mm. So as a kid, like, who were some of the wrestlers you watched and gave you that love of professional wrestling?
So definitely Jeff Hardy and Rob Van Dam, when I was a child, were the two that I sort of connected to, like almost instantaneously. And then sort of Edge and Christian as well. Absolutely love Edge and Christian. And then as a child, sort of being a gay child, I was sort of aware that I was a little bit different, but wasn't sure why. So I started connecting more to like the female wrestlers. So Trish Stratus, of course, one of the greatest of all time period, male or female. just an incredible wrestler. Trish, Lita, of course, Victoria. I was a huge Victoria fan. And then I sort of got into my teens, and it was like the Divas era. And I will always champion the Divas. They were thrown in, a lot of them without wrestling experience, a lot of them without much training, if any. And I just think it wasn't a great time for women in wrestling, but the Divas that were there at that time made a lot of good. Like they made good out of what they had. So as a gay teenager, I really connected. One of my all time favorites will always be Maurice. I just love the way she carried herself, especially as a heel. Like people love to hate her because she was so conceited, and I just love that. So yeah, definitely sort of Jeff Hardy, Rob Van Dam, Edge and Christian, Trish, Victoria, Maurice. They're the core of who Eddie Jade is, I suppose.
So, like, let's fast forward a little bit. When you did your first match, what music did you have in your earbuds, or like, how did you get the butterflies out of your stomach before you ran to the curtain for the first time?
So it was an academy show at PCW, because they do like open rings. So it's like trainee shows
Mm.
where we get a bit of ring time, try things out, try gimmicks out, see what people in the crowd connect to, what they don't. So the first time I was extremely nervous, because I was a year into training, and the first couple of months I didn't really pick it up that quick. The first couple of months I really struggled. I got an injury. I broke my wrist a couple of months in, so I really got in my head. And then I went back after my wrist was broke. My wrist was broken, so I went back, and I was a little bit like, "Oh, can I? Can't I?" But I thought, "No, I can. I can do it." So that first match, I got asked if I felt ready for it about a week beforehand, and I said, "Yeah, I'll give it a go. What have I got to lose? I know the basics. I know I can pull the basics off safely. I'm not. I knew that I wasn't going to be in there and be a detriment to anybody else's career or my own. So getting psyched up, I literally for about a week, literally just watched some of my favorite matches, studied the tapes, spoke to like my fellow trainees, friends that I have in the industry, and then the day of, I was literally in the morning, I just put on my usual gym workout playlist that just always gets me a little bit pumped and a little bit ready. I put on my first set of gear, and as soon as so I always wear like a fluffy bucket hat, always. That's kind of my thing now. And I literally remember getting ready, and I put my fluffy bucket hat on, and it was like something took over.
Mm-hmm.
I was a wrestler. I was going in there. I was going to do what I needed to do to prove myself. And yeah, that's it really. Just put some music on, put all the doubt to the back of my mind. As soon as I put that hat on, I was like, right, this is it. It's go time.
So you said you're a big fan of Mr. Jeff Hardy. Like, what like if you had to put a top 5 like of Jeff Hardy matches that have like been in your like favorites of all time, what would it be?
The match against the Undertaker, just the whole story. That match will always be one of my favorites. Um, Again, mainly a lot of the Hardys versus Edge and Christian, to be honest. And the Dudleys, of course. The TLC matches. I loved Jeff versus Punk as well. Jeff versus Punk was I'd sort of not really. I wasn't really following men's wrestling at the time. I didn't have a lot of time. I was sort of doing like my GCSEs, which are like the SATs in America. So I'd sort of keep up with like the women's matches because they were shorter. I had time to fit them in, but I knew that there was like a storyline with Jeff and Punk, so I followed on with that, and I just loved Jeff and Punk. And to be honest, a lot of Jeff Hardy's like hardcore stuff. I just loved, like, I personally, I am not going to dive off. I'm not going to dive off a big ladder. It's not for
Oh,
me.
no way.
Absolutely not. I know that if I even tried that, I'm going to break my neck. I'm not Darby Allin. I'm not Jeff Hardy.
Mm.
But it was just so entertaining to watch, and it was like a thrill because you never knew what he was going to do next. So yeah, just anything. He had a ladder match, I believe, with Rob Van Dam, and it's not like a 5-star classic, but I love it because it's two of my favourites in a ladder match for the Intercontinental title, which I think is the most underrated championship going. And yeah, all that kind of stuff, ladder matches, just anything where Jeff's just like, God, good God, what is he doing? Please get down.
Okay, in my head, do you always hear JR's voice anytime like you see, even though he's not wasn't in a WWE ring, it was like in TNA when he did the ladder spot, you hear JR, oh my God, what is he doing?
Jeff Hardy, what are you doing? Jeff, get down from there. Yeah,
My
definitely.
friend was
Good
at the
God.
my
Good
friend, sorry,
God,
my
it's
friend was
broken
actually,
in half.
yeah, no, God, my friend was actually at the Royal Rumble when he did the thing off the taxi cab.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
He was like
God.
5 feet from that cab, and he always has that stupid running joke that he used to always say, Eddie Hugo, I was so close I could have just went, "Oopsie," and just sorry off the
Whoops.
left. "Oopsie." Mortal Kombat, "Oopsie." But he's like, "I wouldn't have shoved Jeff. I would have went, you know, you're really close to that edge, right?" I would have been like, "Achoo. Oh, no." I'm an idiot. I would have sneezed, and he would have been like, "What?
I'd have been like, please be careful.
Careful, dude." Do you ever watch any of his stuff from, like, Impact and stuff like that?
I've watched some of it. I've not watched a lot of it, but I've watched some of it. Yeah, some of the stuff's really good, and then obviously there were the parts where they weren't so good
Yeah.
because of obviously his personal issues. But yeah, I think I watched his initial TNA run, sort of back in the day when he first got released from WWE and he went to TNA. I watched that. Really good. Again, I think I mainly followed TNA because Jeff Hardy had showed up. You know,
Mm.
that was sort of why I sort of went into TNA. That was the draw for me. Yeah, so I watched it. I watched a few. I watched a bit of it. Yeah,
Like, have you been keeping up with him now since he was in AEW with Matt?
I've not really no. I don't really keep up with AEW as much. Um, I enjoy the product when I do. It's just there's so much wrestling at the minute, and I'm sort of trying to make my own way into it. That I'm sort of struggling to get all the wrestling content in to my own brain to watch it, as well as try and get it into my own brain to actually do it myself. So his AEW run, I've watched a few matches here and there, but I've not really kept up as much as I would have liked to, maybe.
So, out of the like many years you've been in the business, like where do you think like who are like the wrestlers that you've seen on the indie scene in the UK that you've been wanting to wrestle, male or female, that you have not had the opportunity to like work with yet, and who would they be?
So there is three that I haven't that come to mind that I would really really love to get in the ring with. Um, so two of them are actually coaches of mine. So CJ Banks, the gatekeeper, he's like our main coach at PCW. He's an incredible talent. He's been doing it for 20 years. It's not looking likely for me to get into the ring with him because unfortunately this year is his last year of in-ring competition.
Oh,
So as it stands, it's not looking likely that I'm going to get that chance. But he's just a fountain of knowledge. Really is just a fountain of wrestling knowledge. I've learnt so much from him over the 2 years that I've trained under him. He's
mhm.
helped me so much. He's given me a lot of confidence when I've necessarily lacked it. Yeah, so CJ Banks is definitely one of them. The other one is the current PCW heavyweight champion, Philip Michael. Now, I think Philip should be everywhere, everywhere. He's such he's such a nice guy as well. Like he is just a lovely, lovely human being. But the talent that he has inside the ring is phenomenal. I watch his and I'm never ever not entertained by his matches. He is so so good, um, and I'm so glad that he's our heavyweight champion. I think he's the perfect ambassador for the PCW brand. He came from the academy that I train at. So just to see him wherever he is now, fantastic. I didn't train alongside him. I've only trained under him. But he's so giving, so giving. I was backstage with him yesterday, and he came up to me and he was like, "Oh, I was watching Stardom and I seen a move and I think you should try it." Like he's always, when he's watching things, he's always seeing what he thinks his peers could do. And I just think that's such an incredible trait for someone, because he doesn't need to be thinking of us. You know, he could be picking things for himself and putting things together. So yeah, Philip Michael, 100% would love one day to have a one-on-one match with him. He's just incredible. And the third one that I haven't wrestled yet, but have been on shows with, is Helen Charlotte Campbell, HCC. She's just incredible. She's an 11-year veteran.
Wow.
She's just so good, so good. She's physically intimidating. She just has this presence, and she's just incredible. Honestly, like I was on a show with her a couple of weeks back, and I was just watching. I was sort of like peeping behind the curtain, watching her match because she was main eventing as she should. And yeah, just everything she does in the ring is just, it all just works. Like it just makes sense. You really believe in her, like her character. She really makes you believe it, and it's just incredible. So they'd be the three that I haven't. One person that I would like to work again, I've only had the chance to work once, is Priscilla, Queen of the Ring. We had like a throwaway match at a Comic-Con
Wait,
last
Queen.
year.
Oh, you said Queen. I was about to say Princess. There's another one I know from WAW. Her name is Princess.
Oh no. So Priscilla, Queen of the Ring. So she's a drag queen wrestler, former PCW heavyweight champion. Wrestled her once before. We just kept it simple. It was a simple match at Comic-Con. Really fun though. So much fun. A personal friend of mine as well, who I absolutely adore to bits. So to work something else with him would be a wonderful, absolutely wonderful.
When you see Priscilla, please tell her about the podcast, and tell her, Joe, this podcast is for everybody. So I
Yeah,
definitely would love to have her on so she could
yeah,
share her story like you're doing right now with me.
yeah.
We're down to the last three questions, Eddie.
Hmm.
One of the questions is, where do you see yourself at 5 to 10 years in the business?
So hopefully I will. I'm not somebody who's like out here trying to get signed by WWE or AEW. I'm nearly 30, so I'm not. I mean, don't get me wrong. If ever I get to a stage where they come and knocking, I'm not going to be like, oh no, I'm not interested. Of course, that I would be stupid to do that. But in 5 or 10 years, I would like to be in a place where, maybe due to my age, I'll be winding down anyway, because age comes to us all.
Mm.
But I'd like to just be in a place where I can look back on a career and just have fond memories. If I'm lucky enough to still be going and still working, I'd want to still be at peak, where I can be. I don't think I've reached my peak yet. I think that's still to come. So yeah, in 5 years, I'd like to be at my peak. In 10 years, I'd like to, if I am starting to wind down, be looking back on a successful career, and just have people know the name Eddie Jade, and know that I started a little bit later in life, and I did it. I came from being this little queer kid that never thought he could, to being a queer adult that didn't think he could, and then all of a sudden I did. So yeah, I'd like to, in 5 years, be in my peak, wrestling most weekends, if not every. And in 10 years, just looking back on a successful, in my opinion, what would be a successful career.
Awesome. My last question for you, Eddie, if there's any kids watching this podcast and they wanted to get into the business and they didn't know where to turn, and they just needed advice, what kind of advice would you give them?
I would tell them to really look into. There's multiple schools, especially in the UK. There's so many schools now up and down the UK for wrestling. So I'd say definitely just research different schools. Find the one that fits you, And I would really just say, believe in yourself. Just have that. It's okay to have those moments where you think you can't. I've had multiple moments where I've thought, I'm not quite sure I can do this. But when you get those thoughts, really, really push and push and push to put them to the back of your mind, overcome them, because you can do it. And it doesn't matter if you don't pick it up quick. I didn't pick it up quickly. There's still things that I'm still working on now. And I'm 2 years in now. So there's still things that even, and I know that I've still got things to improve on. So never let the voice that's telling you they can't win, because you can, and there will be people that will want you to win and will help you win, because at the end of the day, I believe that this industry, none of us wins unless all of us win, whether it be the guys right at the top who are the champions and the guys right at the bottom that are just starting out. We all have to work together, respect each other, be respectful. When you enter the room, say hello to everyone, shake the hand, introduce yourself. Yeah, and just make sure that you are an approachable person, respectable, and just really work hard. If anything that you know yourself that you need to improve on, work hard to improve it, because it will help, and people will start seeing that you're working hard and that you're putting in the graft.
Awesome. Eddie, I want to thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
No
If my
problem.
fans would like to follow you on social media, how can they find you?
So on Twitter and Instagram, I am at Eddie Jade PW. And I do have a Facebook. It's Eddie Jade Wrestler on
Okay. If they
Facebook.
want to buy any merch from you, Eddie, where can they get it?
So I've got some t-shirts coming. So the best thing to do at the minute is follow me on socials, and I will be announcing the t-shirts when they arrive and when they're going on sale shortly. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks.
Awesome. So if you get a picture of the thing, I could always put it in my story for you, so I could tag you, so my
Yeah. I'll send you a picture over of the prototype of it. Yeah, that's fine.
Cool. Just let me know when you can put. I don't want to post it in my story and you go, take that down, Joe. That's not it yet.
No,
Just
I'll
show
send it
me.
over when it's ready. I'll send it over when it's ready.
All right, no problem. I'm Joe Panther III,
I'm Eddie Jade.
and we will catch you in the next one.